Hey guys, David Otero with Dobinsons USA here to show you guys how to properly assemble an MRA coilover. Alright guys, first step you want to do on the assembly is you want to pay attention to the adjuster rings, right? So you're going to spin them all the way down, and then you're going to grab the coil seat and drop it into the strut. This is where the coil sits, and this is what we call the drop down, right? So most importantly, you want to make sure your strut seat height is correct. You're going to measure from this drop down to the middle of the bottom of the bushing. Most importantly, you want to start at OE seat height. Anything above that is called preload. When you preload, it doubles in lift height. If you preload a 1/4 inch, it's gonna give you 1/2 inch more of lift height. All right, after you've measured your strut seat height and you've got it correctly, you're gonna drop in the dust boot. We provide this dust boot. You can run it or not run it. When we assemble it, we go ahead and put it. It's extra protection for the shaft. After you drop that, then you're gonna put in your first washer. After your first washer, you gotta put another bushing, but our strut caps already have a isolator built in. Once you drop in the strut cap, then you want to put your top bushing. This one's going to be the flat one. Then you have another washer, and then your nut. This is the order of the bushings for the assembly. You're going to go washer, a strut cap, bushing, washer, and nut. The nut needs to be tightened 100% where there's no threads left. Many people make this mistake and just tighten it a little bit. That leaves the bushing having some play, wearing out your strut cap prematurely. And also another important fact is that you want to tighten this top nut without spinning the shaft. And I'll explain that later on when I assemble the coilover. All right, so we've put the coil on the compressor. So what we've done here is we put the shock into it. Very importantly, you want to see where the coil ends and make sure that it's facing the same orientation as your OE shock. Some 5th Gen 400s have it facing toward the rear, some 4th Gen 400s have it facing to the front. So you want to make sure that you do it the same way as it came from factory. So we're going to go ahead and compress this coil for you and go ahead and put this together. So on the MRRs, we have this Rebound adjuster pin built into the shaft in here, and this is something that's very, very important. For you to be able to go ahead and assemble this, you have to take this part out. So you want to go ahead and grab an Allen key, and you're going to slowly twist this out, and you want to put your hand around it because there's a spring-loaded ball bearing right there. You can do this before or after. Should have done it on the table so we don't lose the ball bearing, but done this so many times. So after I've taken out the Rebound screw, you want to make sure you put the ball bearing and the spring inside and you put it to the side. That allows the empty pin for you able to put a bigger Allen key to hold it from spinning when you tighten the top nut. Now that we've compressed the coil, we want to put the shock, push it all the way up, make sure the shaft goes past the strut cap. Your first item is going to go above the strut cap. It's going to be your first flat bushing. After, you're going to have the washer, and then the nut. Now that you've hand tightened it, you want to grab an open end wrench, 18 millimeters. That's the size that we use for the MRAs, and an Allen key to hold the shaft from spinning. This is a very common mistake that a lot of people do. They tighten the top nut and just spin the shaft. This damages the internals of the shock. So we're going to go ahead and put the open end wrench. You're going to put your Allen key, and you're going to make sure that you hold the Allen key holds the shaft from spinning while I tighten the top nut. You want to make sure that the top nut is tightened 100% till you can't no more. It's very, very important you do this and not leave it loose. After we finish tightening, we want to bring back the grub screw we took out with the ball bearing and go ahead and press on the ball bearing so we can get in the cavity and push it down. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and grab the same Allen key that we used to take it out. And we're just going to tighten this down to get it in there. You want to tighten it all the way down and then hit a couple of clicks back, and then you're done. Now that we have assembled the coilover, the last part that I want to explain is the rebound adjuster. So this is your rebound grub screw that we talked about during the assembly. You want to leave it sticking out just a little bit, and what you want to do is you want to put in the rebound adjuster in place. It's like an Allen key built in. Once you drop it in here, you're going to go ahead and tighten this until it grabs the thread, and then you screw it down. And you're going to hear it clicking every time. Once it stops screwing, that's in place. Now your top part is going to go ahead and adjust your rebound to tighten it or loosen it, and you're going to hear the clicks every time you tighten. This is the proper way to assemble an MRA coilover. Just like the MRA, the IMS has the index for an Allen key, and that's going to hold the shaft from spinning when you tighten the nut. Whereas the GS shock, you have a welded seat, so it's not an adjustable height seat. You just want to make sure that you get the right orientation. It's very, very important that you get this in the right orientation, just like your factory shock. Whereas this one does not have the index for the Allen key, you have to use an adjustable wrench to get this at the right size and hold it while you're tightening the top nut and not letting the shaft spin. Now that we've covered all 3 shocks, how to be properly assembled, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us or call us at our offices. We're happy to help.